The Politics of American Education by Jules Spring, Chapter 8 Synthesis by Alita Shaw. Items to be addressed in this synthesis are the benchmarking of global standards and tests, global academic Olympics, the OECD, and the IEA, the World Bank, human capital in developing nations, the United Nations and the World Bank, the global networks, Millennium Goals, global networks and human capital education, brain gain and brain drain, human capital and multiculturalism, the global education business, and the global cloud. Benchmarking global standards and tests. Some organizations that are involved are the Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, Progress in International Reading Literacy, PIRLS, Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study, TIMSS. These are three of the primary organizations that work to create global curriculum standards and global standardized testing for students. The interlinking of global and national education politics has resulted in a kind of global academic Olympics. Overseeing that global academic Olympics are two very large organizations. One, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and also the International Association for the Evaluation of Educational Achievement. These two organizations have vast influence and represent over 90% of the world's economy. This is an internationalized version of human capital economy. Some of the data from these organizations show that one extra year of schooling can result in 4 to 6% growth in the gross domestic product of a country. They attest that global assessments result in a global curricula, which in turn results in economic growth across the world. The World Bank is an international financial institution that was founded in 1944 with the official motto of working for a world free of poverty. The World Bank is owned by member nations, and 5 countries hold the largest shares. The primary purpose of the World Bank is to offer investment loans for developing countries to create capital programs. It also provides educational loans to impact global economy. The theory is that this investment in developing countries will provide a stable workforce for all the nations of the world to impact the global economy. There are complicated links between the United Nations, the World Bank, and the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. The World Bank is also an agency of the United Nations. UNESCO focuses on social justice, but education is the solution to poverty in common with the United Nations, not stated as human capital investment. The Millennium Goals of the United Nations have strong links to the goals of the World Bank. Some of those goals are universal primary education, gender equality, elimination of poverty, reducing infant mother mortality rates, halt the spread of HIV and AIDS and malaria, improving the lives of slum dwellers. But as you can see, all of these stated Millennium Goals can also have the goal of resulting in improving a human capital economy across the globe. Perhaps an unintended consequence of focusing on global human capital policy is the brain gain and brain drain and the effect that it has on multiculturalism. Creating human capital economies across the globe increases global migration, results in a world of nomads, workers going from place to place and not necessarily having a specific place as home. That increases the importance of social cohesion and providing workers and migrants with ways that they can still have identity within a social group. You must create social capital for these people. They must also have an ability to function in a socially heterogeneous group. Additionally, some unintended consequences are the brain drain from the poorest countries to the wealthiest countries and from rural to urban areas. The emphasis on reducing global poverty by increasing global education has resulted in a kind of boon for global education businesses, particularly the test makers, the textbook publishers, and the emphasis on English. There has also been a huge global expansion of for profit education companies. And a few final thoughts from Spring. Um, Spring points out that the primary thing that has made possible the switch to a global human capital ideology is the internet and communications technology, which has in effect reduced the size of our world. Spring also points out that while organizations like the United Nations um, promote an agenda of um, global education and providing education to developing countries and even to um, areas in need in already developed nations in order to reduce poverty. Um, However, within this global business world, there becomes a fear of that social justice agenda. Um, Although, in some ways, they have the same goals of providing education, one has the goal of reducing poverty, um, while the other has the goal of making money for others. There's also a fear of displacement of national ideals, including some of the ideals of American education, like democracy, progressive education, civil rights education, environmental education, and education to maintain culture and the arts. So, while there are some pros to the promotion of the human capital ideology across the world, there are drawbacks as well. Thank you for listening.